Hi, so happy to be part of this beautiful event. Thank you for inviting me. I am Gitte Winter Graugaard and I am calling in here from Denmark. I am the author of these two precious books, The Children's Meditations in My Heart and the book series, The Valley of Hearts, full of meditations for children. I am an expert in peaceful bedtime routines. And the word peaceful is what I am going to talk about today. One of the things I love to talk to parents about is conscious, peaceful parenting. A lot of peace there. And one of the keys to becoming more conscious in the way we parent is in our ability to listen. So today I'm going to give you some of the first clues in how you can parent more peacefully and more consciously. Consciously, by that I mean that you are becoming increasingly aware of what you radiate when you parent, and you become better at tuning in on the energy between yourself and your child, and especially how your energy is affecting your child. So, to talk about how we can become better listeners, I'm going to start out by talking about one of my special friends. See, when I was a little girl, my father would read me stories at bedtime. And from a very young age, these characters in these stories would become my friends, and I could play with them for hours. And I really, really loved books, and I loved playing in these beautiful universes that authors had created for children to me to find joy in. And when I started reading myself, I took a job at the age of 12 at the school library in order to be the first child to get a hold of the new books, because that was what I loved the most, opening up a brand new book. It feels like part of the author's soul flies to you when you open a new book. Back then, I began dreaming of one day becoming an author too, to open up these universes for children to fall in love with and for children to explore in. And I found out later that in my books, I wanted them to explore their inner worlds, their inner landscapes. So let me tell you about Momo, my friend. She's from a fiction fantasy novel written in 1973 by the German author Michael Ende, who in many ways had predicted what we are living right now, with stress and depression being the biggest disease worldwide. So Momo is an orphan. She lives on her own, and she decides to move into an old theater in outside an Italian village. And the people soon come and find her and befriend her and give her food and water and even an old bed that plays inside the theater. And she hangs out with them, and they have a lot of fun together. They play, they sing, they dance, and most of all, they talk to each other. Rather, Momo listens, and the people talk to her. And she has a very, very important skill here that is the key when it comes to peaceful parenting. And that is that we have actually two ears and one mouth. And you may have heard that before. But have you reflected upon it in your parenting? Because most parents and many parents speak more than they listen to their children. And in my understanding of peaceful, conscious parenting, the ability to actually listen to a child is crucial. So think about it for a moment. Momo sits with all these adults and children, If you ask her how old she is, she would say, as far as she knows, she's always been around. And the ability to listen, the way we sit with each other and listen to each other, has been around forever, right? We have been telling stories and we've been listening, responding thousands of years. So, what have we forgotten in our modern way of parenting? How did we stop listening to our children, what they're actually trying to communicate to us? So we hear all the anger, we hear all the words, we hear the frustration, and we might even get really picky on some of the words that we don't like to hear. And we should, of course, parent. But what is the child actually saying? So next time you're in an argument with a child, next time you're trying to parent in a topic that you find hard to parent in, pay close attention to what your child says. So, Momo has this very rare superpower that she is a very good listener. And in order for the superpower to actually transform into the magic that Momo provides, people need to have time to tell her what they carry around on their chest. And what happens is that when she provides this space and energy for people to tell what they carry around, talk about their problems, the problems sort of vanish into thin air. So she lends them her ears, and in the way that the people take their time to talk to her, they sort of solve their problems. So when we lend our ears to our children, they often find solutions. So another thing is to be a little patient with not providing the solution. So I often say to my children, what do you think could be a solution to that problem? And I will also, they will hear me comment almost on a daily basis. I would say, so you did find a solution if they've solved the problem. What did you think about the solution? How did you come to that solution? So I'm equipping my children with an understanding that I'm here to listen, and I'm also trusting that they can find the solution to the problem. One day in the village where Momo lives, the gray men come to town and they move in, and they are very busy robbing people of their time. They actually steal people's time. And I won't give the storyline away, but I will say that once people start giving their time away to the grey men, they stop coming to see Momo. They don't have time to have the conversation, and the stress and the anxiety and depression levels rise dramatically. They forget to listen to the trees, the moon, the stars, the universe together with Momo. She provides this mindful space of just being, and they forget to visit it. So, who is stealing your time? Who is stealing your time away from your child? And are you allowing that some gray men in your life to steal more of your time than is necessary? For instance, at bedtime. Do you have to think about work when you're with your child around bedtime? Or could you spend 10 minutes with a strong heart connection with your child, with a connection where you can listen, but also provide the space the child needs to fall asleep in your energy? So the first part of the heart method that I am bringing to you today is actually the middle. So if you look at the letters in heart, E-A-R, the three letters E-A-R are in the middle of the word heart. So that's the ear. That's the first part of this method. Okay, so now that we have established that the first part of the heart method is to focus on our ears and focus on listening to our children. So I was speaking about before that we tend to hear the words they're saying if we are discussing and we don't like the words they choose or their body language or something like that. So I see that as as a simple ear. So the next part of the heart method is the H. The H in front of the ear brings us to the word hear. So how do we hear? How do we listen? And in energy term, as I work with energy between parent and child, hearing is very different from what our ears are hearing. So what we want to do now with the H, and I always remember this by H as an helicopter. So we want to go up in our invisible helicopter and we want to listen from above. And that makes the landscape that we watch our children in and listen to them from much broader. So in this sense, it's also a time perspective. So imagine your last conflict with your child. Think about the last time you had a conflict with your child. And then first, zoom into what you heard with your ears your child was saying to you. And think about how much you actually listened to what your child was saying. That's the first step. I'll just give you a minute to reflect. Okay, so if you have this conflict in mind, then try to use your helicopter, the H, to actually hear, to actually be able to tune in and listen to what your child was saying in the words behind the words, in his energy, in her energy. So go up in the helicopter and zoom out and see the circumstances around the conflict. So what was leading up to the conflict? And this is the trick, because most often it would be one of three things. The first one will be sleep. Has your child slept enough before the conflict or days before the conflict? Is he or she tired? It has also to do with when you choose to have the conflict, and try not to have it when your child is too tired. The second is water and food. Is your child hungry or thirsty? Very important as well for how we handle a conflict and why the conflict may be escalated if the child is hungry. And then the third thing is to look at yourself and see, did I spend enough time with my child? Is my child longing for my attention? Was I present while spending time with my child? So one of those three things is often the clue to why your child is acting the way he or she is. Are you actually hearing the circumstances behind the word? Are you reading the energy in the conflict? And when you do, and if you look back at many conflicts, you might be able to see what's one of those three things: sleep, hunger, thirst, or you're not being present with your child longing to be with you. So children will say something like, you can actually be in the room, but you're not present. So something like, you're here, but you're not really here. That's when we sit with our phones, our newspapers, or if we are thinking about something else when we're with our children. And they don't like that. They want our attention and they want our full energy to be present with them, so they feel that we are respecting them, that we care about what they say, that we feel like spending time with them. Also very important. So if you think back at those many conflicts that you might have had with your child, and then say, okay, could have been hungry, could have been tired, I wasn't really present, then you know what to adjust. And that's when you start to hear the energy, the words behind the words. So we have established the ear, we have found the helicopter for the H, and then we're actually able to hear. And now we add the T at the end of the word heart. So you may be wondering what the T is all about, and that's the magical part. This is what I love the most, and this is what I practice almost every evening with my child. It stands for together. So when we are together, when we are fully present, when we are very close to each other and we feel that we belong together, our hearing tends to change as well. Because when we tap into the love and the feeling of being together with our child, we tend to understand our child on a deeper level. So this is soul to soul listening. So what I do, besides reading the bedtime meditation stories, especially this one, the children's meditations in my heart, it brings us very close together at bedtime. So we have 4 meditations inside, and especially the 2 first. So in the first one, the child is taught to fill his or her heart with love and understand what love and self-love is all about. And then in the second, we talk about the love we have for each other. So you see the heart-to-heart connection there. So I get to express my love for my child, and my child gets to express her love for me. And we lie there very close together and just appreciate the love we have for each other. So this is one of the methods you can use to actually reach the T in the heart method of listening, is to spend time with your child when you're fully present, also connected to your heart. That's when the magic comes in. So if you don't have the book, I'm going to give you another version of how you can listen to your child, which is really beautiful as well. So what you want to do is to have a beautiful bedtime with your child, and it could also be another time during the day when you have this very close connection with your child, and you place your ear on your child's chest and you listen to the heartbeat of your child. And when you do that, you add appreciation to the fact that your child's heart is beating. And what it does to me is that it makes me reflect upon our relationship and my appreciation of being my child's parent and having this special time with my child. It also makes me think about how I want to parent. It makes me think about what kind of parent I want to be, how I want to spend my time, what kind of day it has been with my child. Did I spend enough time with my child? Was I present? Because they grow up so fast, and I like to place my ear on and listen to the heartbeat of my child, and that reminds me of what is truly important to me. So the last part of the heart method is to meet your child heart to heart, soul to soul, and start appreciating the time you have together. So I hope this heart method has given you something to reflect upon. It's quite simple, yet a lot of parents tend to forget about it. So the first thing are the ears. Are you listening to what your child is saying, or are you just communicating what you think? Are you actually listening to your child, respecting your child's opinion, emotions? Are you hearing, are you up in the helicopter? And are you hearing the circumstances behind the conflict? Are you actually reading the energy here? Are you hearing what is going on behind the words? Sleep, hunger, thirst? Did you spend enough time with your child? And then the deep listening, listening to the soul, listening to the heart. Connection is also very important in order to build that relationship with your child where you're actually listening. So thank you so much. I wish you a beautiful day and best of luck with the heart method.